back to the Villa podcast. Dan, it's been a while, hasn't it?
Has, absolutely. It's good to be back, mate. Different location.
Different location, as you can see. This isn't the famous couch. We are, in fact, in Etihad Stadium.
Yeah, Villa come here in a few weeks, so I mean,
we'll have to come back.
Yeah, absolutely.
Preview that one here on the podcast. Obviously, we can't show you the pitch because there's.
We'd love to, guys, but I promise you we are at the Etihad. It's literally right there. We just can't show you.
Right there. I mean, we can't even show you like a behind-the-scenes photo. It absolutely sucks. It's been a while since we've done the podcast, Dan, so we may be a bit rusty. So please do forgive us. I think first of all, before we get into it, there's a few things I would like to plug. First of all, the last video that we released, our trip down to Brighton, our little League Cup video. It'd be great if you guys check that out. Did okay for views considering we've not posted the channel for a long time, but a lot of time and effort and driving.
Yeah, absolutely, all from you on that part.
Fantastic away day watching the Villa. Good to be with you as well, Dan.
Absolutely, yeah. Been a long time no see.
It's been a while. So here we are. So yeah, if you guys would check that out, that'd be great. Also, on the 13th of October, we are in fact running the Birmingham Half Marathon. Now, I'm not ready for this at all. I know Cal is a lot more prepared than I am. Me and Dan are. Dan Horton, obviously. Yeah. Dan is taking the back seat.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not. I mean, you can only look at my physique. I'm not a half marathon race. I'll leave the CU one, mate. But
neither am I. We are running it on behalf of the Stillian Petrov Foundation and KitHead, so it would mean the world if you guys would kindly donate to us, as I'm putting myself through hell to do this. As I should have been training all summer, but as you could probably see from my socials, I was too busy indulging myself in American
I don't
lifestyle.
And you, for that, yeah, absolutely. No. But this is where we belong.
Here we are, mate.
Villa.
We're back, so yeah, you guys, if you could donate, it would mean the absolute world. We do have quite a lofty target and not long left to reach it, so you know, even if it's pennies, it mean a lot to us.
Absolutely.
I think we should get into it, Dan. Obviously, we played Burnley at the weekend. The dust has settled on that one.
Yep.
Really felt like I lost that game, didn't it?
Yeah, it was tough to take, mate. It really was. I thought, I mean, obviously before the game we were always going to be the side that were more progressive. We were going to take the game to them. Burnley, everyone knew what their game plan was going to be before they even arrived at the stadium. And they carried that out to perfection. I thought they were very well organised, very well drilled defensively. I thought, though, we created opportunities. I thought they were very hard to beat. I thought we actually did quite well scoring 2 goals against them. I mean, you know, I've got to take positives. I think Anwar's goal was brilliant, so impressive.
Sublime.
Lovely to see that he's got that in the locker, that you know he can put out these moments of magic, and I think that is probably Anwar's best trait, is his unpredictability, and I think his shooting is probably his best attribute. But that was brilliant. What a game it was from John McGinn. But the efforts of all these players were let down by what was a shambolic performance defensively, really. I don't think there's any way. Again, we let another lead slip, and I was just so disappointed with it, Dan.
It's kind of out of character, though, isn't it? Because we've been praising the Mingles partnership a fair bit this season. Mings and Engels have both been up there in terms of blocks, interceptions. You know, right up there with your Van Dijks, even your Sergio Ramoses in Europe. It was out of character. It was, but the worrying thing for me is how we dealt with the change in formation at half time. Because I think, I don't think Burnley expected us to play what appeared to be a 4-5-1 from us. And they had the 4-4-2 in the first half, which we overloaded the midfield and it worked because they didn't really lay a glove on us. In the second half, when they changed to that 4-3-3, it's alarming how the midfield and defence struggled to cope with that change for me.
Yeah, absolutely. It was disappointing. I think you look at it, and I'm trying to take positives from it, to be honest with you, and there are to be found. I thought the performance from Matt Targett was hugely encouraging. I thought if he had stayed on the pitch, I think we see out that game. Personally, I thought such was his influence. It was so refreshing to have that option. Although, I mean, I'm not going to be. I feel like people are being slightly harsh towards Neil Taylor. I think he's had a good start to the season. A lot of people are now. I saw people saying, he should never play for Villa again and stuff like that. And the goals, I think you can blame him for, but when he started on the first game of the season against Spurs, Neil Taylor, I thought, oh my God, here we go. We're going to get absolutely rolled over. But he's performed well. He's been solid defensively. He doesn't offer much going forward, but we never expect that of him. No. But it was nice to have that option from Targett. I thought he came down the left really well. I thought it's going to lead to better service to the likes of Wes in time. And that was a real positive. And I thought when he came off, I thought that was the point the game changed. From that point on, I don't think we looked as assured. And yeah, again, I think you can look at Neil for both of the goals, but I mean,
very poor defensive display. It was, and I mean, it was Jay Rodriguez as well to make it worse.
Yeah, even worse. That hurt, didn't it?
Absolute bagsman at Villa Park. Just an absolute. There's no other word to say.
Yeah.
Bastard, isn't it?
Yeah, it was tough to see. I mean, as soon as he kind of entered the fray, you knew it was almost inevitable it was going to be Jay Rodriguez that got the goal.
A very good player, though. Very good player. Now, in terms of looking forward to Norwich, going to be a tough test. And looking at these fixtures, I mean, we kind of profiled in the last video that Burnley, Norwich, Brighton, you need to be getting 9 out of 9 there, especially with the start that we've had.
Yeah.
What are you expecting coming into this game? Because Norwich have been hit with a lot of injuries, but I think that can kind of be skewed because they beat Manchester City with the same sort of injury list. How do you think the Villa are going to cope with this one?
I feel quite positive about it, Dan. I've got to be honest. I think Norwich, that result against Man City has done Norwich a lot of favours, because if you actually look at their results aside from that game, they actually haven't been too good this season. Obviously they had a good result against Newcastle. You see it now, but if you look at the results, losses to West Ham, they lost 2-0 at Crystal Palace last week. They've lost to Crawley as well in there with the League Cup. Their recent results, obviously the result against Man City, as I said, has kind of meant that a lot of people see Norwich as a team to be quite wary of, but they're one place above us, 1 point in it. I'm feeling quite positive. I think we will. A lot of it has been said about who will lead the line, whether it be Wesley or Davis. Codger's coming back as well, so that provides another alternative for us. And I think it's a big game, especially after what happened against Burnley. I feel that the players are going to be so determined to put that right, and I can see us coming our way with a point, if not 3.
Yeah, I think in terms of when you're looking at the results and what the players, how the players are talking after the games and interviews and stuff, there is that belief that we can get the points in the board. The performances have been there. I think Burnley was a bit of an off day, as we've said, for the defence, but it's going to be tough away from home. Norwich are a good side, they play very good football, and they've got a system which realistically we should be aspiring to. I can't believe I'm saying this, but we should be more like Norwich in a way. They play a very attractive brand of football, and I think at the weekend is going to be the perfect chance to atone for last season. Obviously winning the title, didn't beat them, home or away. I hate Norwich.
Yeah,
I hate Norwich.
Real bogey team.
Real bogey team for the Villa. But when I think of games against Norwich, I think of the 4-3 at Villa Park, Christian Benteke overhead kick. I've got some very fond memories of playing against Norwich some games. But I mean, hopefully we can create that kind of magic again on the weekend. We did actually tweet out before we did the podcast who you guys would start up front out of Keenan Davis or Wesley, because it's been a hot topic in it, really.
Absolutely.
I think the sort of the Davis Wesley dynamic or argument is quite interesting because they're very close in terms of age. They both offer the same in terms of hold up play, target man. Neither of them are particularly quick or are going to get in behind. They're sort of the bruiser up front. But a lot of people are getting on Wesley's back, and I think that's probably down to the price tag more than anything, because Keenan Davis cost us essentially nothing. But it always seems to be that kid who has the potential but just can't score, whereas Wesley's always, he's just a bit crap, isn't he? Whereas there's an interesting argument to be made. Who would you start, Dan, before we get into the results of the poll?
For me, there's only one answer, is Wesley. I feel that Wesley's had a good start to the season. I feel that we're not providing him with the service which he can properly thrive off. You look at the 2 goals that he's scored so far, against 2 good teams, in 2 important games, both first-time finishes with the ball played along the floor. If you think the one against Everton, that is how we need to provide the service to Wesley. People, I feel, look at Wesley and look at his height and accept that we should be throwing balls into his chest for him to touch down and bringing other players into play. I don't feel that's the best way to get the best out of Wes. I think if we're going to play the balls on the floor, I think Jack and John need to be getting closer to him. I feel we're just kind of resorting to seeing a 6'4" striker up front and kind of flinging things at him and expecting him to touch it down, bring other players into play. He's a Brazilian at the end of the day. Do you know what I mean? Like,
they don't play like that.
Exactly. These players, he's going to come through. I'm not sure exactly where he came through in Brazil or if it was, but he's not going to have been growing up. his style of play when he's been brought through the ranks as a youngster is not going to be bringing balls down in his chest, bringing flick-ons. It's going to be playing a Brazilian way. And that's how I feel that we need to play against Wesley. I think when he signed Villa, that goal went round at the goal that he scored against Monaco for Bruges in the Champions League, where he comes in off the left wing, drives at the back. And this is how that I think we need to play him. I think his size would mean that, I mean, I'm not going to say that he's not a target man, because that's, kind of still within his nature, but the way that we've been playing and the service that I think we've provided to Wesley has not done him justice. And I think, he's proved that we could, if he'd gone 3 or 4 games now without a goal, I could understand it, but it was only the game before last against Arsenal where he last bagged. I mean, I don't think we're anywhere near the point where I feel we need to be taking out Wesley yet, but I'm interested to hear what your thoughts are.
I think a lot of people are getting on his back, as I said, but purely because of the price tag. And I look at Kean Davis, and is someone who I've had very mixed feelings about in the past. I saw when he was bursting on the scene, I was well up for it. He bagged a few goals, and then has had major dry spells in terms of goals. But I look at Wesley and I can't help but feel when you've paid that sort of money, you've got to back him.
Yeah,
haven't you?
absolutely.
Dean Smith has to stick with his guns and play Wesley until Wesley really gives him a reason not to.
Yeah.
Because I think the big frustration with Wesley, and I think he's a victim of circumstance as well, is he's our next number 9 after Tammy Abraham. Now, we've seen how well Tammy Abraham did last season and is doing this season. So he's got a high expectation to me, again with the price tag as well. The goals he's scored, they've been 2 good goals. I mean, you've got to get yourself in that position against Arsenal to score. I mean, he's not been occupying that position very often. But then again, we've not really had the sort of the drive from the midfield with Grealish for that goal.
Yeah.
He's not really had the opportunity to do that. I think people who are criticising Wesley, I think we need to perhaps take a look at the service he's getting, as you touched on, and maybe change up how we're playing a bit. I know, I believe the Twitter account is the other 14.
Yeah.
There's been a lot going around from there in terms of chance created, and I believe at the moment Jack Grealish is now second. I think Gerard Deulofeu is ahead of him, and everyone's waxing lyrical about how good Grealish has been, but and yeah, he's created a lot of chances, but how many goals have we scored from that?
Absolutely.
We need to take a look at how we're scoring goals, because as well, when you look at where the other goals are coming from, to begin, really, El Ghazi's obviously got 1. The goals are coming from the midfield, so I guess Wesley maybe needs to occupy better positions. I think that's fair to say, and maybe look at how he's putting himself about.
Yeah.
And one thing I touched on with you, and I've mentioned to every game this season, is about the press.
Yeah.
I think if we manage to press effectively, Wesley's going to score a lot more goals, because teams playing out from the back, especially with this new rule of having your 2 centre halves in the box, that you're going to mess up again. I mean, look at Arsenal; they were almost there for the taking. It was only because we were so inept when they went down to 10 men they managed to get something from that game. I think if you manage how you press, you're going to win the ball in dangerous areas. And I mean, how many shots has Wesley had as well?
Yep.
I'd like to think that Wesley inside the box could bag a few.
Yeah, no,
we've not really seen him take a shot, have we?
No. I think this is the thing with Wes, is that if we wanted an out-and-out goal scorer, proven that was going to score the goals to keep us in the Premier League, we would not have signed Wesley Moraes, because he scored 11 goals in the Belgian first tier last season. A fair return, but I mean, for a striker that is then coming to the Premier League, not a remarkable return. I think there was I'm awful if I've butchered his name, and Ndiaye that played for Galatasaray last season that we were linked with during the summer. He scored like 32 goals in 29 games in the Turkish league. If we'd have signed him, and he'd then come to the Premier League and got 2 goals, I can understand the concern. But Wesley is in the squad clearly for what he can bring to the team in a more wider aspect of his play, and I think that's what there is a lot of confusion right now as to his role. And I think if people are expecting 15-20 goals a season from Wesley this season, then forget it, because that won't happen. I can tell you that now. I really like Wesley, but it's clear that he's not going to be that player. We're relying on a lot of the players, a lot of goals in midfield, as you touched on, to get the goals this season. And whether that's a positive or not is a completely different issue, but that seems to be the place that we're at the moment. And I think Wes has got a lot to contribute. I mean, he's only like 200 days older than Keenan Davis or something like that. There isn't much in it. He's a young striker. He's 22. Give the lad a break.
Yeah,
is what I'm going to say. I'm happy to see Kodj come back in the squad because, as you mentioned earlier, Keenan and Wes are two very similar players, and so at least Kodj, I know he too divides opinion, but we can all agree he offers something different to those two players. So coming off the bench or however that dynamic works will be interesting to see. But it gives us something different against Norwich, and Kodj is a player which has never been the same since that injury. The player that we saw before, I genuinely believe was Premier League quality and would have provided goals for us this season. If he can find that form, I would love for that, because Kodj is a fantastic player, and I think he's so unique in that I feel a lot of Premier League defences wouldn't know how to deal with him, because he's not the most technically gifted striker, Jonathan Kodj, but he uses his body very effectively. He's very physical. He knows how to use his arms, and I feel like that he gives something different, and I'm interested to see if he can kind of come into the fold at the weekend and how that works out.
I think he's quite unpredictable, isn't he, Kodj? And you're right, he hasn't been the same since the injury, but which injury? He's had so many injuries. Jonathan Kodj of our first season in the Championship was that. There's no other way to put it. He was just unplayable. You could not defend against that man. He was absolutely everywhere, and I think he was well up for it. And I don't think we've seen that sort of attitude and application from him since he's come back. I think last season, I hark back to Rotherham away. I think that's the best performance I think I've ever seen Jonathan Kodj put in, with 10 men as well. I genuinely thought, wow, like this is a new Jonathan Kodj. And then the next game, it's back to lazy Kodj. I'm going to try and do a flick on the centre circle, and I couldn't believe it, because Kodj was insane what he did. And I genuinely think he has the ability to succeed in the Premier League. He's got all the attributes. He's quick. He's got a bit of flair, unpredictability about him. And I see him. He could easily score 10 goals in the Premier League. I think.
Absolutely.
It's just the application for me, and I think Norwich may be a good chance for him to get himself back on track. And then we've got Brighton. Do you risk him against your Man Cities and Liverpools? I'm not too sure just yet, but if he comes on at the weekend and puts a performance in, I don't see why he can't play and stake a claim. I think he'll feel quite hard done by. I think them bringing Wesley in, and even I think he'll probably take a look at himself and think, Jesus Christ, how's Keenan Davis ahead of me? He was a £50 million striker. There's a lot of money spent on Kodj, so I think that gets played on it again as well. And I wonder if Kodj and Davis could play up front together.
Well, this is what I was going to bring to you. Actually, I think the thing is with Kodj is he had that. There was a bid from I think Angers in France last January that kind of turned his head a little bit, and I think he, although we're discussing how well suited he is to the Premier League, he's very well suited to the French league. And obviously that's where he kind of heralds from. He's French speaking. I do think that appeals to him, and if he's now third choice striker at Villa, then I believe he maintains every right to move, because he's a player that is capable of playing first team football. And so, but now Kodj can look at this two ways. His attitude hasn't been the best. I don't think he showed the grit and the determination to kind of force himself back into the fold. But there's an opportunity for him now, whereby people, for whatever reason, aren't getting behind Wesley. There is a chance that he does get kind of benched, and then Dean looks to his two strikers, and Kodj, as you were saying, has to be proving that he's better than Keenan Davis.
Just as essential to fulfilling this got potential. It's a main man, a hero. He's the main leader of the gang. Chester. He's the main leader of the gang now. Chester.